Thanks for checking out Chamber Web TV. This is Cambridge Votes 2014, a conversation with the candidates for the upcoming October 27th municipal election. I'm Greg DeRoche, your President and CEO of the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce. It's my pleasure to sit down with Ward 5 candidate and incumbent Pam Wolf. How are you, Pam?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm wonderful. It's
Good.
great to have you back at in our studio.
Well, it's nice to be back here, and I appreciate that the Chamber always takes this opportunity to let people know the candidates.
Yeah, I think it's a great time for us to, well, they can see the personality.
Yes.
I like to have fun with people, as you well know, and make people laugh sometimes.
Yes.
And sometimes that brings out the good and the bad.
Yes.
Pam, the toughest question you'll probably, maybe not tough for you now because you've done it for a while, but this is the toughest question I find that I give to candidates.
Okay.
Pam, why are you running?
Oh, I'm running to continue serving the constituents in my ward. There's so many exciting projects and things that we're doing that I can't bear not to be part of them. I'm looking at expansion of the School of Architecture. I'm looking at the whole Back to the River. I'm going to put a whitewater park in.
A whitewater park.
A whitewater park. That's one of the things we've had.
You're giving me all of your big, bold ideas, and I've got a question
I've
about
got
that.
more ideas. But basically, as you know, I sit on Heritage, Environment, many committees, affordable housing, and we're in the midst of doing things, and I really want to be part of that.
Mm-hmm. Great. What do you see as the biggest issue facing Cambridge and other municipalities in Ontario today?
Well, in every municipality, we're talking about infrastructure and transportation. And all cities in Ontario are pretty well over 50 years old with pipes, sewers, bridges, all needing repair. And we don't have the money, frankly, to do all of that. So that's a big issue. Transportation is part of that with our roads, our, again, bridges, and public transit. And we see Toronto, it's the subways. Waterloo region, it's the LRT. These are the things that people are talking about. My constituents constantly talking about traffic congestion, traffic going too quickly, and what we can do to solve those problems. So I would say that the big issues for that cross the board in Ontario are funding of infrastructure.
Yeah. Something's got to be done because you can't double my taxes to take care of the problem. So where are the resources going to come from? And that's tricky balance.
And a lot of it is thinking outside of the box in terms of things that won't cost money. For instance, using new technology. We have for instance, at the city, if you sign up for a recreation program for your child, we should maybe have a site where you can also find out who else has signed up so you can carpool, do things like that. When we plan a new subdivision, make sure we put a grocery store in the subdivision so people can walk to the store, that they don't have to always get in their car. We're doing a lot with bicycle lanes. We need to promote that. We need places to park your bicycle that are safe and secure when you get to your downtown. Lots of ideas.
You almost sound that, I can remember years ago seeing a presentation on livable communities, and it's really talking about that. Some of them go absolutely carless, but others are just more livable with respects to pedestrian ways and bicycles and that kind of thing.
And I think that we need to look at that. We need to look at all the things: better public transportation, better road systems, and things like the GO train. All of these things will be a strategy basically that we need to put in, and again, lobbying for the funding for the big ticket items, and sort of rethinking how we approach some of the smaller things like encouraging people to walk.
Yeah, interesting. Now, you mentioned about some of your ward constituents saying that traffic congestion. Is that, or what is the number one issue in your ward?
The number one issue in our ward is new development and its effect on existing neighborhoods. And a lot of that has to do with traffic. So in West Galt, which is Ward 5, We have proposals for a new subdivision of 1,200 homes, which is called West Cambridge.
Yeah.
And we also have above Kent area, 280 homes. We have intensification in the core with apartment buildings, and people are looking at our heritage neighborhoods. We're looking at the bridges and trying to figure out how we can have this kind of development and still preserve what we value most.
1,200 homes is an awful lot of people.
Yes.
And we only have a few access points across the river to get,
Right.
you know. I've always thought about that from the perspective of getting to the hospital in an
Right.
emergency, you know. And, you know, I always felt, I know a lot of objectors out there, but I've always felt we need a bridge up that way where, you know,
Right.
west side people can access, you know.
And what we're seeing is we have a neighborhood protection association, which is working very well with the developers and consultants in this project, and we're trying to mitigate the traffic that would be coming down Blenheim Road, and being part of every part of this process. So I'm very encouraged that we will be able to mitigate some of the traffic and control. Not say we won't have development, but that development will be sustainable.
I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. When somebody owns a piece of property, it's their right to ask and request to develop that property in whatever way they want. It's about following the rules, and it's your job then to adjudicate the gray areas of what and how do we best build this development so that it preserves the environment, but also makes sense to the whole neighborhood.
And the developers already said at our suggestion that they would put in a grocery store in that development. We're redoing a lot of the traffic counts because there was a discrepancy from what the neighborhood and community felt were accurate and what the consultants had proposed. The mayor and I have promised a peer review of the traffic strategy if it doesn't seem acceptable. So I'm really hopeful that we can work with everybody, and so far everybody has been on board, and it's nice to work together to solve a problem as opposed to just
I haven't been really close to that particular issue, but I've been following a little bit, and you know, the people that I've talked to that have really followed it have said, you know, they really appreciate the city's gone to a great degree to make sure that they're heard.
Yes.
And that's all people really want, you know, in the end.
Yeah.
Interesting. Frankly, Cambridge Chamber is really looking for candidates that have big, bold ideas, and that will carry us through the next 4 years, but even beyond. What's Pam Wolf's big, bold idea?
Okay, because I have many ideas.
Yes.
I think what we really need to do is seriously lobby the federal and provincial governments for our fair share of the HST. We need, as you know, municipalities get about 8 cents out of every tax dollar, and that frankly isn't enough. The property tax is not a progressive tax. It unfairly hurts homeowners, elderly, businesses. So what we need is a good, reliable source of income. Now, if we have that, we can do things, priorities that our communities decide. For instance, a convention center, expansion of the University of Waterloo and Conestoga College into our downtown cores, affordable housing, you know, do some of our infrastructure spending. So if any of the ideas, the sports complex, you know, Carl's favorite.
Yeah, Carl's favorite.
You know, all of the things that we would like to have could be possible.
He's been hammering you about that for the last 4 years.
8 years, 8 years.
8 years. Yes.
But I see that, you know, if we had the funding, and the problem now is we get grants from the federal government, we get grants for the provincial government. That's how we did the Drayton Theatre. You know, a third. But the amount of time that took, the amount of paperwork that took, the resources and energy that we waste trying to get money out of other levels of government could best be spent in our community,
Yeah.
if we had a reliable source of funding.
Yeah, I've always said that the property tax formula is,
Yeah.
it's on the perceived ability to pay. So while you are young and your husband's young and you're earning high incomes, you bought this big house, but then when you retire and your incomes suddenly drop because now you're on pensions, doesn't matter from a property tax perspective. Sorry, you still live in this big house. Yeah, but wait a minute, I'm not earning that kind of income anymore, and so it's an unfair tax.
Yes, and so and businesses are the same. They don't offer the property that they're on. So I think that we really need it. We've got a federal election next year, or maybe even the spring.
We've got a year to hammer them.
We need to really push for that, and I think the mayor and I'm sure the chamber are on side with that kind of
I think
funding.
There's no question from the chamber's perspective. We really have to look at this. Our CAO tells us we're heading towards $140 million infrastructure deficit. We got to figure out how to do that.
Right.
I'm a taxpayer. You're a taxpayer. The last thing you and I want individually is our property taxes to shoot through the roof. So we got to find some other way of being able to tackle that, because those pipes under the ground are critically important.
Yes.
And we need to fix them and we need to maintain them. And with all the cutbacks to local municipalities, it's just not possible today.
And the other thing with the infrastructure that I failed to mention is climate change. And with the severe storms that we're seeing, and most probably will continue to see, we don't need to just repair that bridge, but we may need to make it stronger and flood walls higher, and everything that we do, stormwater management. The 100-year storm is coming every 10 years, and the 10-year storm seems to be coming every 6 months. So, we need that kind of funding.
No, that's really good. The chamber, as you know, opposed the LRT.
Yes.
We opposed it for different, I think there's some people out there that probably think, oh, the chamber opposed it because they just don't like to fund public transportation. That's just not true. We opposed it because we just didn't believe it was the right technology at the right time and affordable for our area. The other thing that we were concerned about was the fact that we didn't see, based on the data that you need to demonstrate in order to get the LRT, we didn't figure Cambridge would be there in the next 50 to 100 years, and maybe even by the turn of the next century. And so we felt, why did we have to pay for it when we likely will never see it? Right. And so those were really where our objections were, and I just take this time to keep reminding people that I'm still bitter about it, but I'm an adult.
Yes.
Democracy prevailed. The vote took place. The majority supported LRT. We got our LRT. It's here. We got to deal with it.
Right.
We got a new premier with a majority government. We've got a local member of provincial legislature that's a part of that government. She said there may be an opportunity that we could speed it up and get it in Cambridge, but we would still have to meet those requirements of ridership. What can we do as a community to help bring that along?
Well, one thing I think we need to do is restore the bus routes that were cut in the last regional budget, just for budget saving, because you're not going to increase ridership by making it more difficult for people to use the bus.
Yeah.
And we have a number of routes where people, ridership was maybe less than desired, but when we cut them completely, then people, in certain areas can't use the bus at all. We have
so then they stop riding transit altogether, and so the overall numbers go down anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to watch, even in things talking about the train and about numbers and how they can be manipulated. In the meeting with some of the unions that work on the trains, they said that the government didn't allow them to add cars at Christmas time or other times when they had high volume. And that, of course, affected numbers because it wasn't realistic.
So there's no room, or you think it's going to be crammed, you just don't get on it.
You can't get a seat. Yeah. And
so availability and accessibility are the key components to making sure that we build ridership.
Yes, and I think with Catherine McGarry as our MPP now, lobbying for us, I think that's a possibility.
Now, we need her to lobby for the next issue that
Yes,
I
I know.
want to talk about.
I know. She's busy.
And I know you're in favor of this because I know you've always been waving the flag that we need to have GO service to
Yes.
Cambridge. What do you think that would do for Cambridge, aside from probably really enhancing the opportunity for local public transportation and connecting it with the LRT or ABRT? What else do you think that would do for Cambridge?
I think we would see some new business here, some new industry. For instance, right now, Google in Waterloo has, I think, 2 busloads of employees that they bring up from Toronto because younger, tech kind of people want us to live in Toronto. And
the nightlife.
Yeah. And the fact that we can do Cambridge to Union Station, if we had a GO train, in 1 hour and 15 minutes as opposed to the 2 hours it takes to get to Kitchener or Waterloo. I think we'll have a lot of people from Kitchener and Waterloo coming down to use the GO train, and opposite, that people coming up. And so if you're going to locate your business someplace outside of the GTA, I think that Cambridge would look very attractive.
You could do worse than locating your business in downtown Cambridge.
Yes.
That is the most beautiful landscape to see.
And we're, the changes and things that we're making, things like the theater, the Back to the River, the old post office library and that restaurant, the Cambridge Mill, like all of those things in our downtown core, the University of Waterloo, and again, the expansion of the University of Waterloo. Those things. It
will transform. It'll change the face of downtown.
Yeah. And so I think we are becoming, I was just reading I don't know if you saw it, the Real Estate Network.
Oh yeah, the Real Estate Investment Network.
Investment Network.
We're the hottest place to invest.
Yes. In Ontario.
You and I have been saying that for a long time.
We're tied with Kitchener, I should say, but still. And that was out of hundreds of cities.
I've often said I'm not embarrassed to say it. I've never ridden GO, and the reason I've never ridden GO is it's never been convenient for me. But I have always said, if I could, if we had two-way all day from Cambridge, my meetings are generally at Queen's Park or at the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. It would be wonderful for me to go down at 7 o'clock in the morning and I could be back here by lunch. And do my work on the train. I would love to do that, but I think that there's a possibility that GO would find new riders that they've never had.
Oh, for sure. And I think that some of the, when I was reading the report that we had commissioned to feasibility, it didn't take into consideration all the people right now. Like I have friends, and they'll drive to Burlington and take the GO train from there. Well, they're not capturing those people. The people who already are driving to Milton and catching
or on the bus. We have the bus in town.
Right, the bus, and they're not. Those riders weren't captured. So I think, it's like the Field of Dreams. Build it, will come.
I think now. Some people say, "Oh, we've been talking about this for 20 years," and I remind them, "No, about 40." It's been a long time we've talked about GO service to Cambridge, and I think. It's certainly time, and I think you're exactly right. From our perspective, we think that the ancillary benefits that will come from that added business, a more connected environment with downtown Toronto, meaning people can live here and still be connected to downtown Toronto easily. I think would just be
vice versa.
Or vice versa would just be
they can live there and work here. That we back and forth.
Yeah, I think it would be fantastic. Pam, where do you see Cambridge in 25 years?
Oh, I'm excited. I think that Cambridge will be culturally and economically diverse. I see it as a vibrant, thriving city. 25 years, we most probably will have a totally different industry base than we have now. I've seen that in the years that I've been here, when we were textiles and shoes, and now we're pharmaceutical, satellites, all of these things. So I think we'll, the future, things like the East Side lands will be fully developed. 15,000 new jobs there, tax revenue. We'll see Canada's population in 25 years, I think, is supposed to double. So we'll obviously have more people in Cambridge, and we'll be, I'm hoping, living smarter. The environment we're going to have to really pay attention to. I don't think we'll be, I think we'll see hydropower on my Park Hill Dam.
Yeah.
Along with my whitewater rafting park.
And maybe even in the Riverside Dam.
Yes. And, you know, I think we'll be less dependent on oil. I think we will be looking at walkable communities. The demographics, I'm hoping that we will have, let's say, 100% employment. We can, and we'll have a highly educated young workforce. And, you know, you and I will be around.
Yeah, we'll be.
And we'll
sitting on our rocking chairs, just enjoying it.
but it's recreation, you know. Like I see, you know,
so.
Old age is different than it used to be. You know, it's a time that people want to get out and do things.
I would agree.
So I see that, you know, 25 years will be a wonderful city, as we are now, but even more so. And I hope I'll be here to enjoy it.
Yeah, me too. I'm really excited. And speaking of the future,
yes,
finally the future has come for me, because I asked many years ago when I was on council to the city clerk, can you please look into how we can do online voting?
Yes.
And this time around we get to do online voting, and I've told everybody, all my friends on Facebook, that I'm on October the 11th. I'm going to get Lisa to take a picture of me voting in my pajamas, and I'm going to post it on Facebook and promote it, because I think it's about time. The internet's over 25 years old. It's the 21st century. We're talking about having cars that drive by themselves. My goodness, you know, you do all your banking online, you can do investment banking online, but you can't vote online. It's about time. What do you think?
Oh, I agree. And we have had voting online, not necessarily municipally, but I've noticed, you know, for different political parties, they've done the voting online. And of course, other municipalities, especially rural ones, have done voting online in the past. So definitely the time has come. And the only glitch, I think, in our system is you will not be able to vote online on election day or the day before election day. So I want everybody to remember that. It's
11th to the 25th.
Yes. And 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
During that time. And I do think a lot of people will take advantage of it and make sure.
Even people like me who would walk to the poll anyway.
Yes.
But I say, you know what? Yeah, it's way more comfortable for me to sit. You know, I don't have other people watching me. Oh, I wonder how he's voting. You don't have to go and register. You just sit there in the comfort of your own home.
Well, I always tell people that they should use the advance polls as well.
Yes.
Because you never know what's going to happen on election day.
Yeah.
It could be
in
pouring
October.
rain. You know, maybe
chances
we'll have the flood, the tornadoes, or whatever.
There's no question about it. And you know, it's just like preparing for Halloween. You know, you could be sweating to death out there walking, or you could be freezing to death. So, I think it's great, and you know, certainly from my own personal perspective, I certainly give a lot of accolades to City Council for being the most progressive and technologically advanced community in the region of Waterloo.
Yes.
I think it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
Pam, any last words for the voters of Ward 5?
Well, I hope that I've served you well for the last 2 terms, and I hope you will continue to put your trust in me and let me serve you for the next 4 years.
Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for checking out Chamber Web TV. This is Cambridge Votes 2014, conversation with the candidates for the upcoming October 27th municipal election. Again, I'm Greg DeRocher, and it's been my pleasure to sit down with Pam Wolf, candidate for Ward 5. Thank you, Pam.
Good talking to you.
Good luck.
Thank you.